Tonight, NBC5 Investigates has learned the U.S. Army plans to launch another review of the Fort Hood shooting to see if it was an act of international terrorism.
Yeah, that revelation comes in a new letter just obtained by NBC5 investigative reporter Scott Friedman. Scott, you've been digging into this for 9 months now. The terrorism question really has a big impact on these victims.
That's right, Meredith. The victims have been denied Purple Heart medals and the financial and medical benefits that come with them because the Army has not called the shooting an act of international terrorism. This new letter gives victims a sliver of hope. The new revelations come in a letter from Army Secretary John McHugh to South Carolina Congressman Joe Wilson. How significant is that letter?
What's the closest the Secretary of the Army, DOD, has gotten to obviously saying this is an act of terrorism.
We showed the letter to Sean Manning, who was shot 6 times by Nidal Hasan, the Army psychiatrist who's been sentenced to death for gunning down 32 people, killing 13. In the letter, the Army Secretary says the intelligence community considers Major Hasan to be a homegrown violent extremist, a person who may engage in ideologically motivated terrorist activities. Still, the Secretary says Hasan's victims are not entitled to Purple Hearts because the Defense Department has not been able to establish Hasan was acting at the direction of a foreign terrorist organization.
They're mixing words a little bit, but I guess it's better than them saying that this was just a mere act of workplace violence or trying to play this down.
In terrorism cases, Purple Hearts can only be given to soldiers wounded or killed as the result of an international terrorist attack. Manning and the other victims believe Hasan's communications with al-Qaeda in Yemen leader Anwar al-Awlaki before the attack should be enough to prove an international connection. Do they have to solve this question about what kind of terrorist he was in order to take care of the families?
They don't need to solve that question at all.
Former Marine Corps prosecutor Colby Vokey believes the Army should simply give the victims benefits similar to those given to Purple Heart recipients.
But we're talking about a very small, identifiable group of people that have hurt from this attack. Why don't we just step up and take care of them right now?
Congress could also step in and award Purple Hearts. Legislation to make that happen is now under consideration. Meanwhile, the Army Secretary's letter says he's directed staff to conduct a thorough review of the records of trial and the court-martial of Major Hasan to see if the trial revealed new evidence, establishing a link to international terrorism. For now, Sean Manning and the other victims continue to hope the Army will help Hasan's victims the way they helped victims of other attacks overseas.
Took a lot of courageous men and women away from their families and ruined a lot of lives, for what?
Army Secretary McHugh turned down our request for an interview. An Army spokesman sent us a statement saying, at this point in time, victims of the Fort Hood tragedy do not qualify for the Purple Heart, but if something is found in our investigation of court records, we will, of course, act accordingly. We've put a full copy of that statement and the Secretary's letter on our website, nbcdfw.com. Meredith and Brian.
All right, thanks so much, Scott.